I get lost sometimes. I'm not sure where I go. But I'm not here. Gorm thinks I'm mad. He doesn't say it, but I know. Thinks it. Is he right?
What about you, stranger? What about this city speaks to you? Greetings. The name's Jasper Gersten. I'm a writer. Aspiring writer. I always forget that word. Funny how large the chasm is between the two. Solitude, for lack of a better word, is suffocating. It's not just the walls and the people. It's the inside of the buildings, too. They all have the same thick, musky smell, like the kind that you find in abandoned shacks, with boarded-up windows, where the air is freckled with dust. Only in Solitude, the windows are frosted, and when the light gets filtered through them, even the sun feels cold. I've tried. In fact, when I was in Solitude, I wrote maybe hundreds of tales, but none worth reading. I was still maturing then, looking for my voice, I would look back on something I penned a week before, shake my head at how shallow the words were, how empty they felt. I began to doubt if I could write anything of substance, and found my solace at the bottom of a flagon. I spent my nights at the winking skeever, and my mornings outside his door. Even Octave's son found my behavior uncouth. One night, Corpulus got fed up, kicked me out into the streets, and told me to never come back. That's when I met my muse. Not unless you fancy rips of muscle. No. My muse was no beauty. It wasn't even a she. My muse was an orc. He was a titan, with arms like tree trunks cut from the great forest. Only, something wasn't right about the way he looked at the tavern sign. When I asked him what was wrong, he managed to force out a word. His bottom lip quivered like a child who just dropped a sweet roll. The word he said was skeever. It was a giant, with shoulders larger than the domes of the Blue Palace. And he was absolutely terrified of rats. That night, for the first time, I wrote with purpose. There was none of the doubt or fear that marred my previous work. The words came faster than I could jot them down. For 3 days and 3 nights I continued. When I was done, I knew the work was true. It was the best manuscript I had ever written. It was the best I could ever write. I tried. I bound the book and took it to a writer named Dodonato Liatelli. I told him the author was anonymous. Said so right on the first page. I didn't want his opinion colored by my presence. I'm not sure it would have mattered. You know what he told me? He said the story read like it was written by a blacksmith. And that's when I knew I was still aspiring. Maybe always will be. And the delusional often exaggerate their own worth. I could be a genius ahead of his time, a writer without peer. I could be a failure who doesn't belong, scribbling words that have no soul. To walk either path is to go down a lonely road. But that is Skyrim. It was a wandering thought passed on to a stranger. I was looking at the ocean this morning and came to a realization. Skyrim is a tale with no end. You flip back to a previous page, only to find that the line's been changed. But the old themes still remain. There will always be war, suffering, glory, and love. Time never grows old. It's a season unending, a story everlasting. And those who lose will never find it, till they rise to fight again. The story I wrote was about a warrior. But good tales are never about the wars, but the people who fight them. That's why wars are so personal. Everyone has someone they lost. All of our fates woven into a single wound. Except mine. The world has its problems. I have my problems. And neither one cares about the other. The Nords somewhat primitive. Some still think that wearing fine clothes without fur means you worship Daedra. But simple minds can foster strong emotion. The Nords are people willing to swear their undying fealty to a feeling. That's what I'm trying to capture. No. Not since Adonato rejected my last work. I'm trying a new style. Less words, more pith. As if each sentence were its own story. True, desire gets in the way. We want to dress up our words in brocaded garments, lose sight of the rawness underneath. Alas, no. I've heard that a writer's words must sing from the page. A bard takes that interpretation literally. I tried it once, singing. The demand for bards is much higher than for writers, which is evident by the number of people in Skyrim who can read. Have you ever heard of the Bard's Leap? Better a corpse than a poet. If you're headed towards Solitude, don't buy your drinks from the tavern. Go buy the spice wine directly from Yvette's son in the market. Just don't let Corpulus Eve bring it in. A bard's song will make you pick up a sword. A soldier's life will make you put it down. Don't fall victim to nostalgia. It's just another kind of loneliness. I'm the second worst person to seek advice from. The worst is Alexander Simon. At least my failures were never published for all the world to read. Live your days, so the days will not outlive you. Of course, the Nords have a word for this. It's cowardice. I see. You must have been curious to seek out one man's trifle in a world full of them. I almost feel the need to apologize for wasting your time. I thank you for the compliment. Sometimes I wonder if that's enough. If just one person enjoyed my work, maybe it was all worth it. Maybe then it all had purpose. Even as my voice was reduced to a whisper, there was someone out there bothering to listen. I admit, I never thought of that. Is it possible he never bothered to read it? I wonder if I should get a second opinion. But I don't know if my heart could take another rejection. I almost don't want to open that door and give in to hope. But if you're willing to do this, I can keep my eyes to the east. You may find someone back west, where the story was conceived. Back in Solitude. Never ask Karita to play you a sad song. She doesn't understand melancholy. Farewell.
You're that one from the college. Heard about you.
I'm a bit thirsty. I want
If you've come to file another complaint, I won't deign to hear it. If my presence is that much of an issue, tell it to the steward. Everyone whines and moans about how loosely I flap my tongue, as if Thane Ericure's eccentric love life were not a matter of public knowledge. And for the last time, I am not a Thalmor agent here to destabilize the court. You're thinking of my terribly unfashionable twin sister, Mithril. My name, on the other hand, is Nithriel, and I am both an attendant of the court and someone worthy of your confidence. Well, let's just say Thane Ericure prefers to do his shopping in the dungeon rather than the marketplace. On some days, he'll even emerge with a sack that rattles so violently it betrays its contents as he walks. Although I think, and you didn't hear this from me, that Ericure isn't the one doling out the punishment. He strikes me as someone who likes to be bent over a chair with a gag in his mouth. His sister, on the other hand, is another story. No, I wasn't implying they perform these acts together. Although now that I think about it, how salacious. You, stranger, have a good eye. I wonder, is that from experience? When it comes to deviance, they do say it takes one to know one. What manner of skeleton do you keep in your closet? I promise it will be our little secret. Let me see. Who do I know that's available? Are you opposed to marriage outside your race? On the other hand, I suppose they might be. I'm not a gossiper, just gregarious. I don't embellish. It's just the facts don't convey the spirit of what really happens. I'm not high maintenance, just high-minded. When I petition for funding for a party or festival, or new robes for the Thanes, I do so with purpose. Nobles cannot simply skulk around like common thieves. We must present ourselves in a fashion befitting our rank. Oh, do tell. You can always confide in me. Oh, then you're in luck. I heard there's a Dunmer in Whiterun who will take all your junk off your hands for a nominal fee. Well, it was rather tragic what Ulfric did to Dorig, but not nearly as tragic as the prehistoric cave garments with which he dresses his generals. The uniforms of his lower-ranked soldiers are bad enough, given their redundancy. But I mean really, a bear's head? I know third-era fashion is all the rage these days, but I think you have to go back a couple of millennia to find a time when animal heads were stylish. If Elisif mourned anything, it was the death of good taste under Stormcloak rule. But I suspect her husband was important too. Well, I can't say all this melancholy has been good for her complexion, but she's still quite fetching. You may not be aware of this, but it requires a great deal of work to live up to the moniker Elisif the Fair. The last thing a lady wants is to have that name said in jest. Well, yes. You came to the right elf. I know everything about everyone. In fact, you're quite the popular topic these days. So, before I share, I need to know if all the rumors regarding you and that Hagraven are true. After all, I would never spread such lies without first confronting the person in question. As your newest and dearest confidant, I'm glad to hear it. They are wicked creatures and deserve no mercy. Now, I don't want to alarm you, but this may give credence to that other rumor that you have difficulties controlling your rage. One person even accused you of murdering an elderly woman and calling her a Hagraven. A rumor I squashed immediately on your behalf. Gladly. I won't reveal my sources, but from what I hear, a certain publisher has been struggling to stay afloat. In a last-ditch effort, they've sent their minions all over Skyrim in search of the next great writer. One of these critics has limited his search to the winking skeever. Oh, but that's not the scandalous part, for it's not the drinking, but the fact that our critic bears a striking resemblance to one Minette Vinius. A bold person might accuse this critic of bearing an illegitimate child, especially given how gregarious she is compared to her so-called father. Of course, I would never levy such an accusation without proof. Oh, it's rather simple. He always sits at the bar on the furthest stool to the right. They say it offers him the best view. You take the seat, and I'm sure he'll come to you.
We drink to our youth, to the days come and gone, for the age of aggression is just about done. We'll
You know, I know that the Daedric armor is like the best you can get, but it looks so bad on me. It makes my hips look like a moose.
Stroll through here. I'd arm wrestle you for it, but something tells
Yes,
me
sir.
that would leave
You want a
so
drink?
tired and possibly
It's been a
dead.
pleasure.
we'll sing.
What good would that stool do me then?
We're the children of Skyrim.
If you need a good rumor or two, I think I can oblige.
The name's Flint, by the way. Author, publisher, and admirer of the female form.
But this land is ours, and we'll see it wiped clean of the scourge that has sullied our...
It's not to have me sign your book, is it? I mean, don't get me wrong. I'd be glad to, so long as it's one of my later works. But there's plenty of time for that later. Besides, you ought to at least buy me a drink before you start
This
making
one's a favorite
demands.
of mine. A legend we all know and love.
Just got off the ship, as it were, fresh as a flounder. I came here to pen my next great novel, and while I'm here, keep an eye out for talent. Of course, talent comes in many forms, and they never specified what kind. Why, just the other day, I had a delightful conversation with a high elf named Nithriel. I think she fancies writers.
Why don't you ever see the dragonborn comes?
I don't know.
That would be great, lass, if I had secrets to keep. Most of mine find their way onto the page. You might have. I've written countless epics, poems, and tales of heroism. Still, I'm best known for a terrible piece of tripe I wrote about 7 years ago, called The Duke of Beards. It was a book about a legendary barber, and bloody awful, which is saying something for a work of non-fiction. In fact, I once set out to burn every copy in Skyrim, but the thing took on a life of its own. Turns out that piece of rubbish was the best thing that ever happened to me. The fame I received from that book gave me the coin and the authority to write what I love. They say one man's trash is another man's treasure, but for me, they were one and the same. Let's see. Now, if I'm being perfectly honest, I would say this is apprentice-level work. But that being said, you've got talent. Of course. I'm assuming this manuscript is yours.
Being a pirate is alright to be. Do what you want, cause a pirate is free. You are a pirate.
Of course. I can't tell you how many writers hand me manuscripts on behalf of their friends in hopes of getting an honest critique. But regardless of his identity, one thing that's certain is that your friend lacks conviction. I can see it as plain as day on the page. I didn't say that. Although your friend may not like what I'm about to say. With a little polish, we can turn this into a seller. It may not give him the acclaim he seeks, but it will put food on the table. The problem with young artists is that they're a bit too attached to their integrity. He may not go for it. On the other hand, better to be a mediocre artist than a starving one, and it'll give him the leverage to write something of substance. Well, for starters, we need to dumb it down a bit. A few cosmetic changes here and there ought to do it. We also need to make these paragraphs cleaner. They lack direction. It's something that can be fixed easily enough. Lastly,
This is
the
an ode
main
to
character's
Skyrim's
name.
staunch
I
protectors,
can tell our
the
friend hasn't
Imperials.
spent much time around
We
orcs.
drink to our
I
youth,
think
to the
Bogak
days come
is a
and
female
gone,
name.
For the age of aggression is just about done. We'll drive out the storm cloaks and restore what we own. With our blood and our steel, we will take
Now
back
there's a
our
strong
home.
orc name. I like it. If all goes well, the name Gromash the Stonehand will go down in history as one of literature's most tragic figures. All that's left now is to give my suggestions to your friend. If the final copy passes muster, I'd be more than happy to have it published. Safe travels.
Is there something
You
I
need a
can
good
do?
rumor or two.
Of the scourge that has
Greetings.
sullied our hopes and our
Safe travels.
Welcome. Let me know if you want anything. I think I got a clean mug around here somewhere.
Good to see you again.
Yes? Huh? By Debella, you mean someone wants to publish my book? Wait, what do you mean by changes? That necessarily isn't a bad thing. I've been thinking, Arenato's criticism blinded me to my own failings. I was trying to be less like a blacksmith, when I should have been embracing a more simple approach. Looking back at my old drafts, I don't even recognize the person who wrote them. The inspiration was there, but not the voice that shaped its thoughts. Yet now, I feel confident I can make it heard. I can tell the story of this orc the way it was meant to be written. If you'll give me a few days to rewrite it, I'll have something for you. Unless there was something else you wanted to add. I'm not married to the name. To be frank, I wasn't sure if Bogok was authentic. I'll leave that to you and the publisher to decide. I'll get to work on it right away. Come back in a few days. I should have something for you. Goodbye.
Oh, did you need something?
You hear the old stories, sweet enough to play on a bard's lute. They always start the same. Something like, once upon a time in a world not unlike a dream. Sometimes I wonder if this is all just that. A story. Yours. Mine. Maybe the tavern owner's. All of Skyrim. It is a cold drink of ale poured into a frozen glass. That's why I'm always at the lighthouse. Just to take it all in before it melts away. Can I help you? I need a bit more time. I just need to pare down some of these long paragraphs. Yes? Good. Just a few more days to work out the pacing. Well met. Farewell. Yes? Actually, it's done. I can't say for sure if the publisher will like it. At this point, I don't really mind if he doesn't. All it means is I have room to grow. I know I'm still aspiring. My journey is far from over. Still, the fact that he was willing to listen, and you were willing to help, means it's also far from hopeless. Here. Huh? Fair.
Need something?
Skeever. Take a load off and enjoy the atmosphere.
Greetings. And here I thought the story of the orc with the stone hands would never get told. Glad to see you've kept it safe. Now, let me take a look. Now this, my friend, is a story. Give me a season or two, and the name Jaspar Gersten will be known from here to Strozem Kai. Here, take this gold. Half is for you, and the other half is an advance for our newest writer. I did. That was a mistake on my part. I never thought our writer could make such improvements in such short amount of time. Unless, of course, this manuscript was written a long time ago. Either way, the growth is there, as is the talent. Safe travels.
Hmm? Wow, I don't know what to say. Four. 400 symptoms. I said it wrong. Are you sure? This is too much. Thank you. I won't. Oh, and by the way, I forgot to ask you. Who exactly is this publisher in Solitude? Flynn Horstad? The man who wrote The Duke of Beards? Suddenly I'm not so sure I trust his endorsement. But I confess, I haven't read his recent work. I've heard that it's far more substantial. In any case, I'm grateful to you both. Now when I look out from the lighthouse, I no longer feel so much despair. I feel hope. Goodbye.